So this is a speed run of Bard's Tale 1 done in about 2 hours and 10 minutes or so. I'm going to give a little post-play walkthrough of the game and what I'm thinking in this process. This is the MS-DOS version. Um, as you can see, I've started the timer prior to the game beginning just for keep it clean, and then we immediately engage in the rolling process. Now my approach in rolling has basically been to roll the elves first, because you have my general thought is an elf paladin and elf conjurer, which you open up with. So I'm basically looking at all the rolls for an ideal elf conjurer paladin, and if I find one, I immediately assign it or use it. Sometimes I skip past good rolls because I'm trying to do it really fast, but generally on the elf side, you need luck. It's important. It's probably the most important attribute in the game, particularly when you're doing a speed run, because you've got to flee, and you're always low level. You're always under leveled compared to where you really would like to be. And luck directly influences your ability to flee. It also influences your ability to successfully damage through spell casting. So we need luck for our magic users so they can actually hit the high level enemies in the last fight, Mangar and the Demon Lords and Vampire Lords. So it's important that luck, particularly for the Paladin, the luck be maxed out as quickly as possible. That's the other reason for having a Paladin as the front character, is he has the best saving roll against team effects and um, other negative spells that would affect the whole party. Anyway, it's kind of complex, but the Paladin is basically the heart of the team. He needs to be, you need to roll a strong Paladin. And in this case, we roll a pretty strong Paladin. So the next we roll is the Dwarf Monks. And there's not a lot to be said here other than you are basically the dexterity and constitution are the critical attributes that you're looking for, and then everything else is as if it isn't too awful. The dexterity is important because it's kind of a race to get your monks to low AC so that they can fight and participate in battles as effectively as possible. And monks get a much worse hit point gain every level. So maxing your con early on is really important so that your monks can survive spell damage, basically. And as we'll see later in the game, the spell damage is really what kills you. Unfortunately, as this game progresses, the Paladin actually doesn't max out con until the very end. So he ends up being kind of under hit points, under far fewer hit points than he should have, which is frustrating, but it kind of works out in the end. But it could have been a lot faster if he had gotten some more points in Constitution early instead of like Dex or Strength or Intelligence. I also, you'll notice I give kind of bland names to the heroes. It helps me when the process is going fast to figure out who has items or who's dead or who's hurting. And second and third represent the order in the melee. I always know the paladins first, and second and third represent the two monks who are in the second and third positions respectively. And Wiz is always just my caster. So we immediately start out by going to farm the samurais, and we do that until the paladin has 7,000 experience, because that's enough to get him a few basic levels. Actually, I guess in this case, I go back and get my team, and we finish out either 7 or 10K. We'll see here. Yeah, it's not. There is an interesting. Uh, the item drops are random, but they're not random. It's kind of weird. You'll see patterns emerge, and in the early game, there's a big gold deficit to heal and to get the spells for the wizard. So you're constantly like, there's a constant tension between spending time equipping and selling items and advancing the ball. But you have to dedicate some time early on to just buying stuff and equipping everybody, and then you go back to farming. I could probably use a script, which I have not done in this, but to automate the movement and do it faster. But um, this is just me pounding away at a keyboard, even if it looks fast. And you'll see I make pathing errors along the way. Anyway, it's kind of bland as I kill the poor samurai over and over and over again. He's a high experience monster. He gives like just over 1,000 experience, and he basically dies in one hit to your little stone elemental summon, or I think even the Paladin I think can one hit him too. So he basically dies over and over again because he's the easiest way to get experience. He doesn't give you a lot of gold because uh, but in terms of just getting your levels up, it's the fastest way to do it. I do it as a team in this example. I normally would level everybody up solo, like just one stone elemental and one like the paladin or the wizard by himself, not with the rest of the team. Because experience is basically divided by 4 among these people, so you have to go twice as much. But as you see here, if you don't get your pathing perfect, you'll run into buildings and then you have a high chance of having a forced fight, which wastes time. And sometimes at these low levels, the groups of monsters can be big enough to cause you a lot of problems and then kill you, kind of end the game, end your speed run essentially, because resurrecting people takes a long time. So I've actually chosen to group as a team and just kill the samurai a lot. Um, and I think it ends up being more efficient than doing it solo if you do it with specific goals in mind. And the goal here being to do it to get the paladin to 7,000 experience, which is roughly level 3, level 4, I think. Um, but it gets the paladin just enough hit points that he can survive a single Ogre Lord hit. It's not guaranteed, but he will probably survive a single Ogre Lord hit. Um, and the Ogre Lords are basically a bunch of things similar to the Samurai, just one entity. They usually die to one hit, but they give like 2,600 experience, like more than twice what the Samurai gives. They also hit a bit harder, so if you don't kill them right away, they can hurt you. Um, you can also just go directly and roll the dice and farm the Ogre Lords from the very beginning. But it's you're rolling dice, and I'm just taking a more conservative approach in this specific instance. Also to experiment and see how efficient it is team, how many actions you have to do, and is there a benefit to taking the team out, which I think there is. You can survive creep fights, and you actually get more gold out of the creep fights. Um, and the more people you have, the faster you win those fights, and the less damage you take because your damage output increases. But anyway, you see here I've got 62 hit points, level 4. Um, and I'm going straight to the Ogre Lords. We're going to farm these as fast as we can. They can hit you anywhere from like 12 to 51 points. So as long as you stay above 51, you can't be killed in one hit. They also have a particular affinity for the stone elemental. If it's just one hero and one stone elemental, the stone elemental gets hit like 75% of the time. Like it's way biased beyond 50-50, which allows you to basically let your stone elemental tank everything. I get some bad luck here, but it's about 80% stone elemental, 20% you overall. Interestingly, if you do this as a team, it's basically equally divided among the chance of who gets hit is equally divided among the stone elemental, the paladin, and anyone else in your team. So uh, at the end of the day, because the ogre lord does more damage, then he will provide to you in gold so that you can heal with. Like he hits, you can't. Uh, if it was just you and the ogre lord all the time, he gives you 20 gold or whatever. You can't heal. He does more damage if you think of damage in terms of gold or gold required to heal. Ogre lord does much more damage in terms of gold than he provides to you. So this farming route really only makes sense if you have a if either the ogre lord can't hit you or if he always hits the stone elemental, because you'll quickly run out of gold otherwise. Anyway, so I go, actually, you can see here, I've been going back to the Catacombs entrance to reset the Ogre Lords over and over again. It's faster than walking back to the guild, and there's no forced fights in the Catacombs. At this, just walking in and out, there's always a random chance, but it's really, really small. Like most games, I don't even have to run from them. But occasionally, as you notice, that there's a very small chance you'll have a fight in the Catacombs that is usually fatal. But in this case, we lucked out and the Paladin was able to successfully flee. It's just one of those risks that you run in order to gain it's probably a 25% efficiency gain, not having to go back all the way to the guild. And again, my pathing isn't always good, but you'll see here also I'm not selling stuff. You just gotta, you can maybe drop items that aren't good. Oh, I guess I do go sell stuff here, but or actually I go back to kill the samurai for that last little tidbit of experience to get me to 50k. Actually, I guess I don't level him here. I just I wait till later to do that as a team. But he now has the experience that he needs. He can go level up when the team goes level up. We now get the two monks and the wizard together. They finish off their 10k at the samurai. And then we'll eventually just let the wizard level up until he hits about 19k experience. Not very exciting, but anyway, the goal generally is to get a couple levels into the monks so that they have you know, 1 or 2 or maybe -1 or -2 AC from their decks and class bonuses. And then they don't really need a lot to output damage and not get hurt. But the wizard, you got to level him up more. There's a healing spell, FLRE, Flee. It doesn't really have pronunciation. FLRE, Flesh Restore. It's rather important for farming in the Catacombs because your heroes will get poisoned, and Flee is the first and lowest level spell to cure that poison. And also spell damage is a function of level. And because in the speedrun, you're constantly taking on more than you can chew. So you're fighting much higher level creatures and your damage is reduced against them. So it's important that the wizard have the smallest level disadvantage as possible. I would say have a level advantage. You never really have a level advantage. You just have a small level disadvantage and you deal with it the best you can. Anyway, once the monks have their 7 or 10k, we go and we farm them up to 30k on the ogre lords. This is a good example of, you know, run into 7 hobbits, they'll just chip away, it wastes a lot of time. The goal here really is to get experience and delay gold farming till later, particularly when you're by yourself, when there's only one hero in the party. I go kill a few more ogre lords over and over again, and you can occasionally check and see how much more I need to do. So yeah, I'm level 4, so I would have gotten the 7k. Now you bump up to their breakpoint is the next big breakpoint is 30k. So I just get them that experience and then we move on. Get the next monk, go out and do more of the same. Anyway, your poor Storm Elemental gets smashed into pieces, but he serves his purpose. You do want to make sure that you have a high hit point elemental, just in case you get stuck in a fight. You're really reliant on the elemental to output damage for a round or two, particularly with these monks who can't flee very well. They start the game with terrible luck and they're low level. I think like these things I try to run away from, but actually I think no, these ones I forced the fight. If I'm stuck with the fight, I think I just farmed them out. Anyway, I tried to run from the hobbits twice. The second time succeeded. Anyway, the monk has the experience. He hasn't leveled yet, but we'll do that as a team for efficiency gains. This is a good example. I walked into the building, had to run. The wizard doesn't do physical damage. Its only hope is to cast spells to kill stuff. So I take the time actually to go. You always have to heal up your wizard because he's very vulnerable to physical damage. That's why he's always in the back line. I assume the listener has some experience in this game. Otherwise, this is kind of a boring YouTube video. But anyway, we get 19,000 experience on the wizard. He only has to kill it about 10 times. Once everybody else has 7 to 10k, you just do it as a group, and then just with the wizard by himself. And back and forth we go. Run away from the thieves. Don't want to mess with that. That's why the luck is important for the wizard also, particularly in these early levels. There's just random encounters that happen even if you don't mess up your pathing. You have to be able to flee from those successfully, or at least have a good chance. Otherwise, you're going to get hurt. You're going to lose time. Potentially, if you die, it's the end of the speed run. You got to try it, roll over and do everything else again. Anyway, the wizard's where it needs to be, so we're going to go. Everyone's going to make their run at the shop. Everyone's sell or buy as needed. Make sure everyone's where they need to be. And everybody's going to go level up as a team. The Paladin got those are very good rolls into luck. With the plus luck, it's completely random what your bonus is. Those early luck points are real important. And he got a point in con too, but that's like the last of his constitution advancements for a while, which is unfortunate. Anyway, you'll see here, we're 20 minutes into the game, and we're going straight to the Catacombs. Everybody's got a pretty low AC for where they need to be. We heal up, and Now we just go to the rooms that provide for forced fights, and we carefully pick our fights. This is actually a pretty aggressive move right here. Those 6 conjurers, they can cause a lot of trouble. Gratefully this time they didn't. They cause really trouble in terms of, you can give damage in terms of as a gold penalty. Every point of damage they do is 10 gold that you have to cough up to heal your guys. And gold is a really restricting factor in this early part right here. And they don't necessarily do a lot of damage to a single individual, but then it gets multiplied by 4. And in terms of the gold that it'll cost you to heal, it's a lot, even though the raw damage output for a single individual isn't that high. And basically we kill everything here that we possibly can. That doesn't result in it looks like it won't hurt us too badly. It's a balancing act basically, but the really easy fights that you might think take a long time and don't justify their output, we take anyway, because at the end of the day you get a roll at some better equipment. And in addition to gold, the next limiting factor is the equipment. Your paladin basically needs that equipment to farm at the higher levels. The monks will naturally get very low AC, but the paladin is equipment dependent to get that. So here's some black widows. You'll see that stone elemental gets poisoned. To heal poison costs like 2,000 gold or something silly. But if you heal it with a spell, it costs like 50 gold in terms of restoring spell points. So gratefully we didn't get poisoned there. And right now my wizard doesn't have that spell for lack of gold to buy it. And I usually don't buy it until someone actually gets poisoned. Just if you don't need it, you don't. I don't buy it until I need it, essentially. And basically, I want to stockpile as much gold as I can, particularly if I get a good roll and someone accidentally dies. Sometimes it's time efficient from a human perspective to keep playing the speed run. If I've got the gold and I can resurrect the people, I'm still shaving off large chunks of minutes. It's not like every second really counts. So I just don't want to re-roll if I got a good roll. And particularly if I get some good equipment drops too, it may make sense to keep the game going even though I've suffered a early death that's kind of expensive. Anyway, the Catacombs is fun. Like right here, I actually probably should buy the spells for him. Do I do it? No, I don't do it. I probably should have. Like I had the gold to do it, but this fight is actually one that I'm surprised I took against the whites. I usually avoid them. You can see here I dedicated some resources to try to kill them off as fast as possible. The magicians and whites in particular have a nasty tendency of, if they hit you, they make you old. And that costs money to heal. And they don't really give you the benefit. Like it's just easier to flee and go find another fight if it looks like there's a bunch of things that can wither you, which will make you old. The gold cost to heal that is just prohibitive. But sometimes if you think you can wipe them out pretty quick, yeah, it may make sense to take the fights, and I think I'm pretty aggressive here in taking those fights. You can see here your War Strike WAST does it's frustrating. The bladesmen have a lot of hit points and they're higher level, and they have good saving throws against your damage. So anyway, now we'll leave the Catacombs, heal up, get our elemental, restore spell points, and go back and have at it again. I think a long time about this Black Widow fight. Do I really want to take it? I know I didn't buy him the Fleery. Here I get poisoned. Poison just, the longer the fight is, the more damage it does, the more gold it costs you. But Black Widows are also, they give you good, they're high level, they give you good gold, or sorry, they give you good experience. Plus there's a lot of them, so it gives you a lot of gold. So I immediately go buy the healing spell, which I should have done earlier, frankly. I think I overlooked it. I've got 10k gold to do it. And now I heal the third monk. And we check if we can level anybody, but we can't. Anyway, back we go. That was a pretty aggressive fight. I think I just dumped this one. Yeah. The wizards, so many wizards. Wizards can also make you old, but they have a lot of other options, so they don't do it very often. But you have so many casters that you can't wipe out at once in one round. You're just not worth it. The penalty for, you'll pretty much, your paladin with the high luck will be able to flee easily. Hey, there's not a lot of time lost to a flea as compared to the gold loss. Here I pause it for a while and I got a phone call or something I had to deal with. Anyway, we're going to jump ahead and begin again later. All right, now we're about to unpause it. Start the timer, and we're back in business. Assassins make for good gold. They don't have a lot of hit points. They hit hard, but they're kind of glass cannons. My item drops to this point have not, they've been about average. There's not a whole lot to say here. As you notice, spend a lot of time reorganizing your inventory. And you pick up a lot of junk that it's important to sell it in the early game to get the gold, but you got to bounce items back and forth. You get clogged up. That is one advantage of monks in the early game, though, is that they can hold a lot of items that you can go sell. I mean, they've got 5 extra item slots in it. You can save time by not having to go dump items or drop items on the ground and lose the gold value of them. So now my Conjurer Wizard is level 5 in terms of spell level. I think he's level 9 in terms of hero level. And that means he has Shock Sphere, which is like a improved damage spell. And it's time to take advantage of that. You'll see here all my guys have, the front line each have almost 100 hit points. Paladin's there. The next objective is to go to Hearken, but to do that we got to get past the Grey Dragon, who regularly breathes fire and kills your teammate. The Fire Breath does like almost 120 damage. So right now we'd all die if he breathes fire. So you got to save up your gold to resurrect people. And we can always roll the dice, but it ends up being a waste of half an hour of your life on the speed run. So again, at this point I'm playing conservative. You'll notice now the monks and paladin are pretty much wiping everything out, and they're hard to hit. It's really only spell damage that'll harm them at this level in the Catacombs. But they can still occasionally get withered by spells of the whites. Up to here's the paladin, and third are still vulnerable. Second is somewhat, but takes a lot. Odds that he'll get hit are probably 1 out of 20. We're just going around getting the gold we need to move on to the next level now. It goes a lot faster because you don't have to heal. You're not spending gold healing. You're just really spending gold on spell points. And there we got the mithril plate. That was a good drop. It's basically the best item in the game for the paladin. It's important to get that drop early, and this right here is good. In terms of future improvements, it's instead of going to Hearken, there's an option here to basically go farm a bunch of whites on level 3 of the Catacombs. The challenge is you've got to flee past some what can be really hard monster encounters, and it's not always. I got to figure out exactly where the paladin's most likely to do that, because the Hearken level 1 and Catacombs 2 and 3 they're all exactly the same in terms of what monsters you'll fight. But the advantage of Hearken is that it's much more time efficient because you can enter and leave Hearkens to heal really, really easily. Whereas level 2 and level 3 of the Catacombs takes a lot of time. It's not very, from that perspective, it's not time efficient. Also, you need at least -7 AC armor class to survive the whites, like at least, and we don't quite have that now. But we are kind of beyond. We need the items that we can farm up in Harkin. Here, anyway, the Grey Dragon doesn't. Yeah, we luck out. He doesn't breathe fire, and that's nice. So now we can farm Harkin 1, which is a lot more experience. It's fast, it's easy, and with the Paladin, we can flee from unfavorable encounters. The item drops up to this point have been okay. I don't think we ever get mithril gloves. Yeah, we flee from dragons. You never fight them unless you absolutely have to, as in you're forced to. Same with doppelgangers and mimics. You just leave them alone. Do not ever fight them unless you absolutely are forced to. Big waste of time. They can easily kill you. You just leave them alone. It's just not worth it, the time risk in a context of a speed run. Anyway, you can see here, you can just leave Hark and heal, and you're back in business. In, out, in, out, in, out. There's a bunch of squares that or locations in Harkin that give you a forced fight against a random group of enemies. If you're familiar with Harkin, there's 4 stone golems, 2 on each side, in this big room that we're about to enter in. I don't even mess with them. They have a good chance to hit your team, even if you have very low AC. And they hit pretty hard, and it's not gold or time efficient to do it. Harkin's also pretty close to the Roskas, where you can heal your magic points, which you want to, you're forced to do, but you want to do it. You want to use magic as much as possible, as much as reasonably possible. There's a good balance. Yeah, 7 blue dragons. Blue dragons are high level. It's hard to successfully flee from them. Your paladin to have a high luck and high level to consistently do that. Excuse me, one second. Those 7 blue dragons would have wiped out the team. It would have ended this game, like right there, if you couldn't flee from that. And it's hard to flee from. That was a good luck. We got lucky right there. As you can tell, I'm more than willing to spend money on, or spill points on, and hence gold on Trap Zap. Saves a ton of time. And the penalty for failing to disarm, like, there's a time and gold penalty if you get it wrong, and it's a largely luck based. So Trap Zap never fails. It's fast. In speedrun, you just do it. I had forgotten I already had a mithril helm. Anyway, we keep making the rounds. I've gone in here even with the wizard at low spell points just to get what I can and get out. A lot of fights you really don't need to cast if you don't. have to. Again, it's a balancing act as to, but generally you want to cast as, if you can get a bunch of kills out of the cast and reduce the number of rounds that you fight, you'll want to do it. I think I get my pathing wrong here and get lost, and it's frustrating. Now, I think at this point I could probably have gone and leveled a third monk and gone straight to the whites, which give the best experience and gold that you can get anywhere in the game, with the possible exception of the berserkers, which in this speedrun context you never get to a place where you can really utilize those guys. But I keep farming here kind of out of habit. Um, there's also the, you can boost the third monk's AC either by getting levels or getting, I think he has a couple points in dex, but that he has a chance to roll every time he levels, or a chance to increase every time he levels. And I think going forward, that'll probably be my approach. Unfortunately, the Conjurer doesn't get any pre-first round AC reducing spells like the Magician does with Mystic Shield. And there's no point in casting it mid-round. You got to do damage in a speed run. So, and actually, I guess that's what I do here. I do go level my monk up, and I think we go to the Catacombs to the whites. Maybe I go back for a little bit more. Yeah, I think I go back for just a little bit longer. I think I was hoping to get some mithril gloves for my Paladin. Um, the downside to the whites is it kind of ends your, I mean, you can get some items from them, but the rate of which you get an opportunity for an item drop plummets. Yeah, anytime you see dragons, you run. I think what I ended up doing was just dumping out the rest of the spell points on Harken for efficiency purposes, and then going back and farming whites. But a lot of times you're also choosing the best spell for the situation. If you can wipe out a group of critters, sometimes Shock Sphere is not the best spell. You can cast something cheaper that'll do more damage to a single entity, and that'll wipe out that group and has the best chance of reducing the number of rounds that you fight. So I do end up getting like a mithril shield here. Maybe that was also one of the things that I wanted to do. And I start balancing out all the monks' equipment. And now we've got the monks really in a good spot. So I guess I get everybody up to about 130,000 experience is the next level point for the monks and the wizard conjurer. And at that point, for sure, we'll be ready to do the whites. They can, I think you'll see here, they almost get close to killing off the paladin, or maybe they do kill him and have to resurrect him. So you really you got to be careful as to when you choose to go down there. Otherwise, you'll find a quick end to now you've wasted an hour of your life and haven't really progressed anywhere. Yeah, I think at this point I realize I'm ready to do the whites, and I think I leveled them up, everybody up, and we're in a good space. And we go dump everybody's inventory. We keep the light wand. Sometimes you run out of mana because for whatever reason, and you really need a light spell. Particularly Dayblades, which can be used by both the Paladin and the Wizard, are very useful in case the Wizard dies or runs out of mana. You see that little blip there was occasionally I have to Alt-Tab. I don't have Catacombs 1 memorized as well as I should. I think I actually get lost here. It cost me a good 20 seconds or so. Level 1 of the Catacombs is one of the more confusing levels. $30. 45 seconds. Yeah, a good minute here has been lost. Yeah, level 2 and 3 are pretty straightforward. And here we have the whites. That's a forced fight right there that you always have to do, but you flee from it. And now this part gets incredibly boring. So you basically go back and forth here. You're level 10, 11. Yeah, we're level 11 now as the wizard. So they don't repel your shock sphere, and they take, I think, mostly full damage. I think they do get some half damage rolls. Yeah, there's a 6 there. It's probably a half damage roll. You don't get all of them the first time. There's somewhere between 10 and 20 left over. And they do have a reasonable chance of hitting your paladin with -7 AC. And when they hit him, his AC will increase to -4, and then they just pummel the daylights out of him. And he would probably die. Probably 30 whites is enough would hit him that he would die. Well, so you can keep watching this. You can fast forward it. Interestingly, is something interesting to do here is just do the math on how long it takes you to farm a round of, really farm 3 rounds of whites, or, one. You can do efficiency calculations at the end of the day, and I think my estimates for these kind of runs were, if I pull up my notes here while I'm talking, I don't remember if I did it from this segment or a different segment, but roughly 15, 15.5 thousand, 15.5K experience points per minute per hero with the whites, which is basically as fast as you can possibly get. I compared it to Harken 2, which is the next best experience zone. Harken 2 is only I have experience per second. Hold on a second, do the math. Yeah, Harken 2 is only about slightly less than 8,000, 7680. It's almost exactly half the experience per minute that you can get on the whites. And Harken 2 has there are a lot of fights there that can just wipe you out instantaneously. You got to be real careful fighting that. So, and I think on a gold per minute basis, the whites are also, aside from maybe selling Spectre Eyes, I think selling Spectre Eyes is much faster, but for in terms of monster farming, whites are the second best place in the game. And in terms of gold and experience, it's hands down the best, other than Spectres, which is a whole nother domain. You have to go there for the later levels. You just can't farm. There's nothing you can farm faster. Well, this goes on and on and on. Anyway, the white farming goes on forever. It's not particularly interesting. I'm not sure what to say here. I don't know that you really want to hear anything after I repeat this over and over again. One thing I guess I could say is that anyway, you just do the math and figure out if whites make the most sense, and I think it's like 3 times the experience of Harken 2, so I'm currently trying to figure out if I even need to jump into Harken 2 at all. It may make more sense to just try to get a luck shield at the Crystal Golem. Like, just spam that guy over and over again. And if you get one, great. If not, oh well. The Exor Wand is particularly useful. It's a high cost spell. But as we'll see here at the end, a level 9 or 10 wizard usually has enough mana to do everything it needs to all the way through Mangar, without having to worry about mana costs associated with Dispossess. Or the downside is that Luck Shield really it's +2 luck, which equates to like 4 levels or something like that. So it's a big boost, and it's an unfortunate not to have it. Anyway, I get lost in Catacombs going here, which is frustrating, but so be it. That's just because I was experimenting in this run when I did a really good time. I've since navigated a little better, but obviously there's still a lot of room for improvement because I'm, almost under 2 hours and still having pathing troubles. So Yeah, pathing troubles is a good description. Um, anyway, I did some. I've recorded this video slowly over time, or the audio portion of it, and overlaid it on the speedrun. And in my subsequent adventures, I've been. You can get some better Paladin equipment rolls to be almost -9 or better by this point. See, I've lost quite a bit of time here just missing stuff. And we're back. So I'm not going to say anything here. I think I'm just going to jump ahead till we get to where we need to be. So now the wizard is 13. We've got more than enough gold to get our spells. And do we advance him to magician here? I forget. I guess we do. Now he's a level 1 magician and his spells bounce. But it's also cheap to resurrect him. And I've also, I think in other runs, I think it's actually more effective right here to jump into Hearken 2. I guess I do that here. You need to visit Hearken 2 and at least get the mandatory crystal sword and the silver square And whether you do that at level 13 conjurer or one magician is debatable. There's pros and cons to doing it both ways. The pro is that the pro at 13 is that you can kill stuff real fast and try to get items real fast. The con is that you're not really benefiting from the experience, and there's a good chunk of experience there to get gained. The downside is for going in as a level 1 magician, you don't have good spell casting. Everything repels it because you're level 1, which is unfortunate. So you can't really, it feels like your time isn't as well used. Here I fight a doppelganger. That was accidental. You should always run from those. There's no reason to risk it because it's just and I do it again. It's just a dice roll. Anyway, you see everything repels your stuff. Um, if you were lucky and found a luck shield on your first trip up and then came back a second time, that's somewhat offset, but um, I think the way that I've approached it now is if my Paladin, it really ends up being the Paladin, if he's got high enough luck and levels, he can flee from pretty much anything in Harken 2. So that means you can just, and there's so many auto attack squares to jump on that you can just run around and flee from unfavorable fights and fight stuff that's heavily favors melee. Because like right here with -7 AC, low, um, you're not going to get hit by spell damage, and you're not going to get hit by melee damage very much either. I think we just run from all of it because we're more interested in moving on. But um, there's a couple approaches that you can take. I think the next most reasonable approach is probably to go farm the Crystal Golem in Calirion's Tower. Kyle Arns, I call it Calirion's because it flows easier, but farm the Golem over and over again with a Pure Blade, which hopefully you get in Harken 2, or which the whole point is to avoid Harken 2, but yeah, if you can get some lucky drops in Harken 2 at some point of Pure Blades and or even in Calirion 1, in Calirion's Tower, get a Pure Blade in conjunction with Restore on your Wizard or Magician. You can farm that Crystal Golem up a bunch, which goes a long way towards. It's basically one fight over and over again. So you get a lot of item drops without having to take on a lot of risk. I mean, the Golem hits pretty hard, um, but if you can heal over it and then have a meat shield to potentially target or to offset the target damage, it works out fine. Yeah, here's why -7 just isn't good enough. You end up getting beat up real bad. I can't remember if he dies or not. I think he actually survives, but you really need -8 or -9 or low to be here. They can still hit low on occasion, but it doesn't help that obviously you can see the magician spells are getting repelled. It's real frustrating. But you only have to do this once and then you're out. You go heal and level up and you're back in business and can blast through it pretty quick. I've never figured out a rational path that makes sense to try to do the barbarians. You really need Mind Blade, and getting a wizard slows things down. It's real. You really need the resurrect and dispossess as a wizard. Um, That being said, I am revisiting the sorcerer because it's possible if you get an XOR one, you have to have the dispossessed to progress. Um, so that means XOR wand or wizard. You really only have two options. But if, well, the advantage of a sorcerer is uh, extra levels on the barbarians, potentially. That's maybe faster, I don't know, than um, Spectre farming, maybe for the sorcerer, for his last few levels. Alternatively, um, having a wind giant is probably better than having a regular or a lesser demon that the wizard offers when you go into the red dragon. But then if you have a bard, you don't need, I'm still playing with it. It's wizard seems to be more practical than a sorcerer at the end of the day, and they get a bigger hit point bonus um, and a higher spell casting saving throw bonus. Yeah, I like the wizard path, but I'm still open to other options. Anyway, we just keep farming whites over and over and over again. There's probably a more efficient way to do it, but and I miss some efficiency things here, as you've noticed. But at least now I've got Mystic Shield, which offsets a lot of the risk. I will say the one frustrating thing is my monks here have out hit pointed have more hit points than my paladin, and this despite the paladin having a much better hit point, like almost double the hit point roll. That's a function of the paladin having low con throughout his entire leveling up and getting bad rolls. But you really need like over 200 hit points to go into Mangar to successfully survive some stuff. So, I mean, you can always just roll the odds, but it's kind of a waste of human life. And anyway, the demon breath and dragon breaths are highly likely to get cast, and you're highly likely to die if you don't have at least 200 hit points. So, all right, I'm gonna jump ahead here. Anyway, so I go to Adventures Guild to reset day and night just to save me a little bit of time going into Harkin's Castle. And here, again, it's a toss-up. I'm only going in here because I need items. I need luck shields and Exer wands, and my Paladin needs to get to low. Oh, I ended up attacking the blue dragons, or I failed to flee. I don't know, but this was a bad, bad move. And we quickly find out why. Fortunately, you've got plenty of gold at this point to. All the party attacks you see is because a Porticane hit APA, and it works out poorly if you don't cast it from the right person. But anyway, gratefully, this is no more than a 1 or 2 minute penalty for having a team wipe or a near team wipe. And back in we go. And we go you up and down this row. You don't need to go into every room. I haven't memorized the rooms that get you the triggers. There's also triggers straight ahead here, right there. Yep, that's a forced fight. There's a couple in the hallways north of here, west and north a little bit. I should have casted that earlier, but I don't think I saw the sorcerers there, or I misclicked because I really picked the wrong target there. I still haven't figured out if there's a way to play around so that you can force a drop of items that are interesting to you, or if interesting items have, if it's something other than purely random. I get an extra one here. I think I get 2 luck shields, like back to back in just a moment. I could be wrong though. I could be thinking of a different game or a different run. The Alley's carpet's always nice to get the your fly spell. And your monks can wear that too instead of the silver items, silver circle and triangle. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but if for some reason your wizard dies, you can always fly to go up or down somewhere, avoid a trap if you're low or hurt. You'll notice by now the stone elemental just gets blown up real early, and you don't really need him, but because you have a magician and a conjurer, you don't really have good replacements for that slot unless you get a war giant um, item or giant figurine, I think they call it. I mean, some of these smaller items are nice, but there, I think my Paladin should be low now, even without Mystic Shield. There's the Luck Shield. And you give it to the wizard early on if the Paladin has enough luck to get around, because right now the most important thing is the spell damage and making sure nobody repels or you don't get a half damage roll. Never allow any spellcaster to join your group. Never allow it. Because the spells are buggy, they'll end up hurting you. Except demons and wraiths. They don't cast anything that can like negatively affect you. They just waste their attack round. Yeah, there's the second luck shield. Some of those weapons may have been pure blades. I really should have done something with it. At this point, I should just leave. And I think I do. And now it's time to finish up on whites and specters. Take Calirian and then Mangar, and we're done. You'll notice here too, we're like 1 hour and 20 minutes. And my magician should be pretty close to 12, I think. We'll see what he gets, 11 or 12. So it's not entirely unreasonable at this point to go try Mangar, except for the fact that it is unreasonable because he's a level 11. See if I see what level my Paladin in here is. You give the shield staff to Paladin so he has another weapon to equip instead of the crystal sword when it comes time to go beat down on the golem a little bit. Because as long as the crystal sword's not equipped, it will never die. Well, it'll rephrase it, it'll resurrect again. Yeah, so I need 100,000 experience to get level 13. And I think I pound the stone elemental here so I can farm specters. My paladin should have leveled to 14. I don't know if do I go back? Yeah, I think I do go back. I neglected to level him up there. All right, more of these guys jumping ahead. Well, now we're in a good position to finish up on specters. Again, we're not even into hour and a half point. Um, I did some calculations on sort of the back of the hand kind of thing, and I figured that there's roughly literally like 1 in 10 million chance of being able to complete Mangar as level 13. And that comes from the fact that there are some forced encounters that you can't flee from at level 13, like the quad specters and the 5 storm giants, and pretty much every other random encounter. So we're going to continue now farming whites over and over and over again. By the way, I've created this audio post facto, as I've mentioned before, and also in multiple different segments over the course of several weeks. So I apologize if I'm repeating stuff I've already said. I guess we're not farming whites. We are leveling up our heroes on the Spectre over and over and over again. And this is sort of a necessary element. It's the fastest way to get experience for the team as a whole if you have more than about 2 people or so. So since this time, it's 1:26 into the game. I just recently completed a speed run of just one hero, a wizard or magician who levels up to be a wizard in about 1:26, 1 hour 26 minutes, which is a interesting feat. I'll post a YouTube video about that also. I'm not sure what else to say about this guy. I think I'm going to go up here to I'm trying to go to Calirians, but I went 1 east instead of -1 east. So now I'm figuring out what do I need to do, and I realize I got to have Porter Cane to the mad statue, put his eye back, and kill him. Now we're going to go to Clarions, or Kyle Arens. I'm not sure really how to say his name. Calirian is how I say it in my head, but I think I may fight a little bit in here. For the most part, you want to get in and out of Clarions because there's no, it's a death trap basically. There's no easy exit out. You have to go through this long, tortuous path. And you have to kill the stone golem, and the stone golem has a pretty high attack priority, meaning he's likely to whack you pretty hard, which we'll see here. The challenge right when you get in is you got to find the east door, which is the west one is kind of confusing, and when you're in the middle of the speedrun, your east and west gets kind of blurry. But so you got to run around, find this guy. He teleports you. You got to go and open the hidden door. This opens the hidden door. Now you got to walk around some more. The pathing here is pretty simple, so you don't really need light. You go to the top, go to the left, then all the way down, run away from the green dragons. Now here's where I always have to bust out a map and slowly walk over to the silver triangle. Then you walk back to the stone golem. I think I've mentioned elsewhere, I've done the 4-person speed run in about 150, I think. I'd have to look at, I think my best times are still posted on the blog. But this particular run was pretty slow, but it's very typical of the approach I take. I think actually now in the later ends I end up leveling the Paladin and the Wizard together as high as they can go on the Spectres, because that gets you you really just have to flee from absolutely everything in Mangar. You just can't take any fights there, except for the very last fight in the Red Dragons. And to do that consistently, you need the Paladin to be high level. And he also, at least the Paladin preferably has to survive some of the Demon Lord blasts, otherwise you're toast. If you're trying to do it really fast, it's really easy to run into that death trap right there that you just passed the other door. So yeah, you never allow a magic user like a sorcerer or wizard, conjurer, magician. They must never ever join your party, period, even if you're desperate for a meat shield. You just cannot have them in your party. I don't know if I've explained that earlier or not, but yeah, so now we just go try to level people up. And we repeat this over and over again for a long time. Oh, never mind. We go straight, excuse me, go straight to the whites again. A lot of this is boring, so I'm going to jump ahead here, maybe I don't know. It's sort of a one-way conversation. I can't really tell the watcher of this movie what really answer the questions live. I have in a team setting, whites make sense. Um, in I've been doing a lot of just one hero speedruns now, and the whites just they don't make sense. You don't have time to do it. It's not gold or time. It's not gold experience or time efficient for a single entity, single person, single hero, player, whatever you call it, one character. But for a lot of characters, it is if you're trying to just get all your heroes up to at least like 14 or 15 or 16. Um, it may be time efficient. Why am I casting Shock Sphere instead of Repel Dead? That was probably an error on my end. Oh, I'm still a magician, that's why. I called him Wiz, I forgot he's still a magician. I guess one other reason I'm not doing multiple specters is I can't take 2 hits from a specter on a single entity. 2 hits would probably kill Paladin and second and third and Wiz. So ultimately, this ends up being, I think, more time efficient. I'd kind of like to tell you a little more about the 1 hour, hour 26-minute speedrun I just finished, but because I literally like just finished it like 10 minutes ago, um, and I wanted to go annotate it, my commentary, but I realized I hadn't finished this one yet, and I really needed to finish it. So I guess I could comment a little bit about lessons learned. Um, so in this situation here, we've got a paladin, a monk, and then a caster that you're leveling up. And I suspect the double monk and the paladin, that's still the right way to go if you're going to have 4. It's nice to have hunters, but they're just uh, you're not going to get a first strike on the demon lords, right? Because they're going to have a much, much higher attack priority under any kind of speedrun circumstance, no matter what your class is. I mean, even Thor, who's like I don't know, he must be a special, he's not even in the monster charts, but he's got the highest attack priority in the game compared to anything else I've ever seen. And you've got to be, level 100 or better, I think, to get first strike over a demon lord. Um, yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's not really reachable in less than 2 hours. So at that point, where you know that you can't get first strike on the demon lords, you may as well use monks because they just don't need any equipment to come online. I mean, they hit low very, very quickly. They don't have quite the hit points, which is frustrating. Uh, but just coming online to low faster than a hunter and easier than a hunter. You may actually, I think about it loud a little bit, you might do a Paladin Hunter Monk. Um, I will say that the monks do struggle with the magic damage because if you got luck 18, you're not going to get your full, all your stats aren't going to be maxed as a dwarf monk. Like something's going to take a hit, and usually it's like luck or intelligence because those are the lowest ones to begin with. You don't care about intelligence, but you do care about luck. I don't know if I look at these guys again, but uh, anyway, Paladin Hunter Monk might be a decent way. Double Hunter is hard to get them both to low in a fat quickly. It's RNG dependent. It takes a lot of speed runs to do it, to you have circumstances that let you do it. And then they're really dangerous in the possession trap. They can really mess your game up. Um, I say mess it up. It just you can. It's that hunter could go crazy and start killing people, and all of a sudden you have no mana on your caster. You can recover from that, but it's puts you in a disadvantageous position. And more to the point, it takes up time too. I think here, if I was going to go, well, um, anyway, I think in latter circumstances, I've just gone straight to the Spectre and with the Paladin and Wizard. And as soon as he hits one, we run back. If I get lucky, maybe he hits two. Um, and with the when the Magician's 13, you can restore after every round. Um, that gives you an opportunity everybody to take a little bit of damage. You can get multiple hits in and get multiple levels for multiple people, but it's a tricky thing to balance, and deaths end up being expensive. And you can end up with awkward disparities in levels, like between your paladin and your monks, and even between the monks, which is not necessarily bad, but it can be, sort of leave one in the dust isn't always the best. You'd like both monks to sort of level up together. My mechanics through this part of the Catacombs is always really poor. It's a difficult little section to memorize um, before you get to these long tunnels here. So I took a chance there, and it's really a more efficient way to do that is just have the wizard cast restore in every fight. So someone gets hit, but at the end, because the specter has a high attack priority, the wizard has a low attack priority. that you'll get the restore out. But you can only do that so many times because you've got a limited pool. Um, level 4, I think I'm going to go back and do some more whites. Now I go more specters. I think that's the right choice here. I'd have to look at second and third to see if I dump them. Level 4 wizard. Oh, he's got the hit points, but they need your monks really need the levels. That you got to get into at least the half damage range for the vampires, Mangar, possibly demon lords. I'd have to look at the rolls and see if that's reasonably possible for them. Sometimes I get lost here, which is really frustrating. It usually happens when there's a fight and it breaks your kind of mental cycle. It's kind of a folded L shape. So if you know if it fizzles, you know that you're in the lower part of it. I've gotten a little better at getting out of this when I get stuck. You know, these small things, the small mechanics add up over time. One thing I have learned too is that when you have low, your see misses a lot, so you end up wasting restore casts. This is not a bad idea if you've got tons of gold. I fear if I die here, no, I kill him off. No, maybe I do die. Really, I should cast Dest right here. But I'm toast. So we create a character, pull the gold, resurrect everybody. These are just mistakes. There's obvious solutions as you're in it, but you're mentally just like, stuck in the fast, 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 and you can find yourself in a bad spot before you really start giving it more than a few seconds thought or half a second's thought. But it's a work in progress too for myself, just sort of training myself what to do and how to act and how to react. So that death obviously cost us 2 minutes there. That was unfortunate. And 40,000, 45,000 gold. being the sadists that we are, we're back for our masochists. Well, loving pain like we do, we come back for more. So this is time inefficient. I've gotten a lot better since this run. Going down there to just get one person, one level, just you got to be more time efficient than that. But I was still learning, and I'm still learning. There maybe might be a once bit, twice shy kind of a thing here. Ultimately, the eye only gives you gold enough for 2 people to get healed, 2.5-ish, actually, because it's 25k gold. Uh, so Paladin's level 17. His stats are maxed. Here's the second monk and third. They're both struggling on their luck stats. Which is frustrating. And if you're really diligent, what you would do is just, as you level up the monks early on, if you're getting more than 1 or 2 points in intelligence early on, you just start over again. But it takes a lot of time. It's such a hard speedrun. It's not like it's a 20-minute thing. You got to kind of commit an hour and a half to 2 hours to complete one, plus whatever time you spend failing, which is substantial. Yeah, now we want the wizard to take a hit, and he does. See, at this point, probably the most efficient thing I could have done is just go Paladin and Wizard together, or just the Wizard by himself. And the Paladin's 17, 18, 19, 20. I forget where his next break is. I might look that up while we're... Yeah, 26 is his +5. So 18 to 26, 18 to 25, he gets +4 points in his throw. Getting him up to 26 in a speedrun is going to be hard. Wizards get a default of +3, which is nice. Um, but yeah, probably getting the Paladin to 20 and then spending the rest of the time leveling the Wizard solo would have been the best shot here, I think. What am I, level 6? So I've got 3 levels, I think, before I'm viable. And my Paladin is still getting Constitution. Oh, so sad. Now, for the most part, I would have stopped this speedrun a long time ago. But I was doing pretty good at the time, so I'm not ashamed of it. It's just something on the learning path. And it's helpful, too, for people who understand some approaches. And I think this is still there's definitely room for improvement, but gives you a good sense of like what to do and what not to do. There's something to be said, too, if you're going to commit the time to go down and get the wizard 1 level, you may as well try to get someone else 1 other level, too. So in that sense, that's probably fairly time efficient. Which I think it is. I think I did make that. I still think that is time efficient. But you're probably best off putting that into the Paladin right now just to make sure you make all your fleas in Mengar. And so your Vampire Lords don't cast Dest, D-E-S-T, and kill you instantly too. You got to be able to repel those. All right, Wizard needs 1 more level. It would be nice if you had level 10 to get that last extra shot at a good DEST, Dest. I don't know what I was doing there. I think I was just trying to be cute and see if I could do it by memory, which I did pretty well, but so much of memory is built into visual cues as well that you need to cast it. It's not pure muscle memory, it's a combination of eyesight and muscle memory. Yeah, I should have, as soon as I got hit once, I should have restored myself, and I didn't, and that was a mistake, and now I gotta walk all the way out. Which is I don't remember if I got lost on this one or not. I do get lost. Oh, no, I can make it out. But it's a waste of gold and a waste of time. Yeah, it's a good 30-second penalty there. It adds up. So I think now I think I make my first Mangar attempt. I go down for some more levels. I go for some more levels. Okay. Yeah, I think that's right. Going at 9 is, excuse me, risky. 10 is definitely preferable if you can get it. I think here I was well underneath my prior time, so that I didn't really feel any pressure to. I was doing really well. I figured I may as well do something that gets me has a high chance of succeeding in the final fight. Yeah, there we go. See, he misses, but you waste the mana. But you've got mana to burn here. What I really need to do is remove the armor of the person who I want them to get hit. I want them to hit. So if I want a monk to get hit, nuke his armor. If I want the paladin to get hit, nuke his armor. The wizard is already nuked essentially. Um, that takes time. Good, you guys level 20. It looks like I'm gonna set up to go. Take my first stab at Mangar. So it's fairly straightforward. You just port a cane directly to the circle. Now you bump up one level and go to open the staircase. It's -9 +4 +1. That works too. On the upside, other to wizard level, oh, he didn't get 11, he got 10. At 11, you get the Beyond Death, and you can quickly heal people. But now you've got, he does at least have Dispossess and Animate, so he can resurrect folks at just the cost of mana. Since you're not a sorcerer, the best you can hope for is a lesser demon in terms of calling for something. A war giant might be better, but we didn't. I don't know if we saved a giant figurine or not. Yeah, red dragons are unfortunately really nasty. And we find out why. So we all die. Paladin lives because he repels. We at least get a Thor figurine, which is nice. I think right here I just try to suicide the Paladin. No, I keep trying to go. Interesting. I've forgotten what I did. He can't ascend up the portal though. I think he didn't realize that. I didn't realize that at the time. So now I think I just... Yeah, I just run around trying to get into fights. But Paladins are pretty mean. Drains a level. I don't know if I actually cure that drained level though. The irony of this game is that sometimes it's hard to kill yourself when you need to kill yourself. I suppose I could party attack myself here. Probably would have been faster. Yeah, these guys blow me away. But every possession re-heals you, which is kind of funny. uh, so that cost me a good couple minutes there. But this speedrun was pretty quick when I was still making good time when I was doing it. That's all we need right here. Like I animated dead on the wrong person. I really should be moving the wizard to the #1 slot, but we lucked out. Anyway, back to the guild, drop off our rescue character. If we don't get lost on the way there. No, we just take him with us. It doesn't matter, I suppose. And I blow the... Okay, don't blow it. Now you can teleport straight to the stairway opening or just right in front of it. Which I mess up when I hit enter too fast. So you got to go out and back in and you're good. And so the real question is, can I get past the red dragons again? I don't think I ever healed my paladin. I think my paladin's still level 19 now, so I kind of missed that. I don't know if it... Well, obviously I win the game ultimately, so it didn't really matter too much, but I should have caught that. There's a bunch of random. This path is kind of frustrating because there's a bunch of darkness squares and a bunch of random squares, and you've got to have, for the most part, the higher level light spells to see which way you're going when you're stuck in the random circles. So yeah, use Thor here and have everybody dump on the B. Yep. So we lose a monk, but that's no big deal. And the lore helm was actually kind of nice. So that actually kind of worked out well. And what I really should have done here is, well, that's the right way to go. So you could animate the exit, use him as bait for the possession trap, and instead of dispossessing and then healing again, you could just mind fist him if he's. I mean, you don't have to mind fist. Your paladin could dispose of him in one hit. Wouldn't have to cast anything. Real question: can I flee the storm giants? That's always frustrating. I do flee the storm giants. I was lucky. I'm low on mana here. You gotta use your XOR wand. Got him the first time. That was good. I have to restore yet again. But we don't need the XOR wand anymore. And we use Ali's carpet instead of burning mana, which is nice. Excuse me. As long as we flee from everything here, we should be in good shape. Getting kind of low at 90 mana, but he just needs to cast Restore 2 or 3 more times, and he's good. And now we got the Spectre Snare. Give it to the wizard. Maka, because you really want to make sure you go south and not east, or you could run into problems. And bombs away. I think I'd sick everybody on the Demon Lords, and I dusted Mangar. Good. And we win. That was a good, easy fight. Anyway, that's the speed run. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out my other speedrun videos on the same stuff. 2 hours, 10 minutes. I was real proud of myself. I still am. I still like this.